It's time for another SB9 update. Now that we're in the new year, we are going to rank from least valuable to most valuable for SB9 and ADU projects. Then we're going to run through the rank of least expensive to most expensive for SB9 and ADU projects. And stick around to the end because we're going to show you where to find your local regulations for SB9. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. You're on the channel that's the #1 resource for SB9 in the state of California. We've been keeping these updates coming, trying to help you make the best decisions for SB9 and your land. And let's dive into SB9 and real estate values and a little bit of ADU thrown in. So we're going to run through the least valuable to most valuable on the spectrum of how to use SB9 and ADUs. And I know what you're thinking, what a great infographic and how cool, it even has a spot for my head to go. But if you are an email newsletter subscriber, you will get a direct link to this infographic so you can take a closer look. Of course, values will be affected by other things like number of square feet of the units, open space, garages, storage, parking, etc. Unit mix is another big one, so depending on the number of bedrooms. So those are going to affect value as well, and there will be overlaps. But in general, this is the spectrum for values related to using SB9 and some ADUs. We'll start on the least valuable. So we'll start off with lot splits. Lot splits are going to be the least valuable, but also they're going to happen to be the easiest as well. So in this infographic, we mentioned that it can be a vacant lot or it can have a structure. Now the vacant lot is an interesting one because when you take advantage of an SB9 lot split, you're supposed to sign an affidavit as an owner occupant that you will live there for a minimum of 3 years after the lot split. Now, if it's vacant, there's nothing to live in. It's not like they can require that you set up a tent. So this is an interesting question. We're going to see how municipalities implement this if the lot is vacant, but they shouldn't prevent the use of SB9. If there's a structure on the lot, the easiest thing is just a big old piece of yard that you can carve off. I've been talking with a gentleman up in Santa Cruz who's doing this very thing. He has some extra yard that he's splitting off. The next step would be if there's a structure right in the middle of the lot and you still want to split it, you would go ahead and you demolish that structure and do the lot split. The lots will be the least valuable, but in many cases the easiest way to generate value from SB9. Next most valuable is a house plus an ADU. And you don't even need SB9 for this. You can do this right now. You can add an ADU. But what's an important distinction is the house plus an ADU versus a duplex. So when it comes to value, and we're talking appraisals, we're talking sales, we're real estate brokers, we're out there giving values for people, our estimate of values. And when it comes to financing, a house plus ADU in general is going to be worth less money than a duplex, even if they're almost identical in square footage of structures, unit mix, etc. The duplex is going to be worth more money. You can use duplex comps to substantiate more value. A house plus an ADU is going to have to use other houses plus ADUs, and in some cases there just aren't any of those comps. In general, a house plus an ADU will be less valuable than an almost identical duplex. Next up the scale of value is a duplex, and this is without splitting the lot. These are both structures are going to be on the same lot. They can be attached to each other or they can be detached from each other. There may be a slight benefit, a slight additional value rise in two detached structures, but that is the duplex. Now another one that seems silly to have a distinction, but that is the two houses. So moving from a duplex to a two houses. Again, a duplex with two identical units that are the same as two houses, that duplex is going to be worth less than two houses. In order to do the two houses, you're going to use SB9 to do a lot split. So each house is going to have its own APN, its own address. They will be separate parcels. These two houses are worth more than a duplex. Moving on to the house plus duplex. So we're taking advantage of both pieces of SB9. We're doing a lot split and a duplex conversion. So this would be the next most valuable, and it's because there are more units And this is an increase obviously in density, and we're getting to the maximum density of SB9. So next would be a pair of duplexes. So theoretically, a pair of duplexes, a total of 4 units created through a lot split and 2 duplex conversions, would be the most valuable. And there's a bonus here, and that bonus is if you're able to condo map these, you'll have 4 separate units that you can sell. Now we're moving on to real estate costs, and this looks a whole lot like real estate values, but what we're talking about here is the least expensive to the most expensive. So let's dive into this. The least expensive thing you can do is the lot split. If it's just an extra piece of land that you're carving off, that'll be the cheapest and easiest. If there's something you have to demolish and then do the lot split, there's obviously going to be costs and permits involved with demolishing. But by far the cheapest and easiest thing to do is to just do a lot split. Moving up the chain is the house plus ADU. So no use of SB9 here. Pretty easy. You just add an ADU onto the house, whether it's attached, whether it's within the structure, or whether it is a detached ADU. And this is less expensive than a duplex, for example, which we'll talk about next. There are lower impact fees. You may not be required to update the house. The ADU will have to meet current codes, but the house can stay as it is, and it probably won't need things like solar put on top of it. Whereas if you're building new structures, you will potentially need to bring everything up to code and add solar. So next up would be the duplex. The duplex is going to be more expensive, even if it's a similar square footage, than the house plus ADU, because they're going to have to meet current codes, and they're both going to have independent utilities. For example, they're going to have to potentially have solar, meet Title 24 requirements. The impact fees will be higher, etc. So it'll be more expensive to build the duplex. Now there's a range in here. Even if the duplex converts an existing structure, that's the least expensive, although you'll have to bring the rest of the structure up to code. If you add on a little bit to that current structure, that's a little less expensive. The most expensive duplex would be a full second structure, either attached or detached from the main structure. And of course, the most expensive duplex would be if you have to tear down the current structure and you start over by building 2 structures. That would be the most expensive way to do a duplex. But just because it's expensive doesn't mean it doesn't make sense. This isn't meant to say you shouldn't do any of these. It simply states where these will fall in the spectrum of costs. They may still be economically feasible to do. Moving on to 2 houses. So this is where you're going to do a lot split. And again, we have a spectrum here for costs. If you keep one house and build a second one, that's going to be the least expensive. If you tear down one house and build 2, obviously that's going to be more expensive. Those are your options to get 2 separate houses. You're going to do the lot split. They're each going to have their own APN. They're each going to have their own utilities. So this is the next step of up the cost spectrum. Getting more and more dense on the lot, more and more expensive. So the house plus duplex. So we're going to do a lot split. We're going to do a duplex conversion. Few ways to do it. You could leave the current house and then build 2. You could leave the current house, add 1 to that, and then build 1. Or you can tear everything down and build 3. So those are your options. And that, what I just mentioned, increases from least expensive to most expensive. And finally, the most expensive will be the 2 duplexes. So you've done your lot split and you have a duplex conversion on each. So you're going to go ahead and you have some variations here as well. So if there's one house, you can add a second unit to that house or lot and then build 2 more. Or you could just tear everything down and build 2 duplexes. So that would be the most expensive use of SB9. Again, maybe the best use depending on where the property is located and a bunch of other factors. But this gives you the range. It's not meant to give you any costs. Costs are going to vary widely across California depending on what you're doing. But what this does is it gives you kind of a range of what you could do and explore these different aspects on your lot for using SB9 and or ADUs. Here is a quick guide on how to find your local SB9 regulations. We're using Los Angeles County as an example. So you're going to go to your buddy Google and you're going to type in Los Angeles County. So wherever you happen to be, type in the county or the city where you're located. add the words planning department and SB 9. So what that's going to do is that's going to get you as close as you can to finding the regulations if they're posted online. Now bear in mind they aren't online for a lot of places. After we typed that in, we were brought to this page and we were able to find for Los Angeles County all these valuable resources, and they tell you how to go ahead and apply for SB 9. We won't go through all of Los Angeles County requirements for SB 9, but here's a quick look. This memo summary is actually a great summary. I'll have a link below so you can read through this. This will be very similar across the state. Plus there's a whole bunch of other resources. There's no downside to clicking through and taking a look at how Los Angeles County is implementing SB 9. And if your local planning department is kind of moving slow on this, maybe you can tip them off and show them some forms from other areas that are working. So go ahead and Google it up like my younger son Liam says to see if you can find your local planning department's regulations for SB 9. If you aren't able to, then the next best thing, you're going to have to give them a call, shoot them an email, or go in person to see if they have SB 9 regulations set up yet. Keep the calls coming. We've been talking to people all over the state of California looking to take advantage of SB 9. Also, leave your questions and comments below. Make sure you subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter so you can get the infographics from this video and the other ones we've done. There's direct links for email subscribers. Plus, we cover important topics including new laws and regulations for tenants and landlords, market updates, and a whole lot more. Join over 2,000 others in subscribing. Don't miss this #1 playlist on SB 9, and there's more coming soon. Thanks for tuning in. This has been Christian Walsh, real estate agent from Wire Associates, and we want to hear from you.